Yep. So everybody, please come to the table. You can chat with each other later. Ready to go? Let's see how many board members we got. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Come on,
5,
Dahlia.
6, 7, 8. Yes, we're going to go ahead and get started. I need the room quiet though, so that the videotape they can actually hear what's going to happen. So just to bring everybody up to speed, this is the governance section of the work session where we're going to talk about updates to policy 2245, home instruction requirements and part-time enrollment options. I'm queuing up Dr. Duran, our Chief Academic Officer, as well as our new Assistant Superintendent, Department of Special Services, Teresa Johnson. So the floor is yours.
And also with us is our Director of College and Career Readiness, Jen Glazer. And so we welcome Teresa to her first work session at 10 o'clock at night. So we will try and go quickly. So before you are two changes to our current policy. One of them is a required change, and that's in item B, and that's simply providing additional information for parents to know about the availability of, for those students that are receiving home instruction, the availability of some exams that they may take, and that was just recently passed, so that's a required change. And then the only substantive change, which is an allowable change by the board to approve, is in item C, adding in middle school. So we didn't change anything else in terms of the fact that high school students currently have the option to take up to 2 courses or at a not being charged, or to sign up for an online class and be charged paying tuition. That's been the only difference now is in allowing middle school students to be able to do that. Nothing else has changed. And so in lieu of the time, I will open it up to questions because that's really all it is. It's very simple. And it allows for parents to then middle school age students to have that option to now have the opportunity to take up to 2 courses if they're receiving home instruction. So with that, we'll open up to questions.
Great. So I have 2 board members who have signaled they want to speak. But as governance chair, I wanted to first just make you all aware that families reached out to Sandy Evans and myself on this, who had middle school children, some who are nationally competitive gymnasts. And they said, you know, we aren't necessarily electing homeschool because we don't value the great educations in Fairfax County Public Schools, but by the gym, you know, the demanding schedule they have in their practices, this is what they're faced with. Once the kids got to high school, they still could take advantage of up to 2 courses, and parents thought that was really important for their connection to their peers in the community and also access to socialization and being a part of a school community. So Sandy and I both then brought this to Dr. Jane Lipp. It found its way to governance. As you can see, these are pretty easy changes that we hope the board will consider. It was discussed at governance and it has the support of the governance committee. But certainly we want to answer any questions because this is up for an action item vote on Thursday.
And one thing I should add is the current policy, there are only 29 high school students that are even taking advantage of this. So we don't anticipate it being a major change to any of our students. There's only 29 current high school students that use this, and we're now just giving the opportunity to middle school.
So I have Jane Strauss followed by Karen Corbett Sanders.
Great, and thank you for sharing how many high school kids actually take advantage of this. So when you talk about two core curriculum courses, I'm assuming that English, math, science would be substantially.
Social studies. Yeah.
Social studies, that's
and
right.
World language.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you.
I have Ms. Corbett Sanders followed by Ryan McElveen.
I fully support this. I know that there are a number of people in my community that have raised this issue in the past, that it would be good for their kids. I think it also sends a very strong message to our community that we are an inclusive schools community, and that we want people to be coming into our buildings, because what happens is they probably will come for 2 and then oftentimes will end up deciding to come for a full load when they get to high school.
Okay, I have Mr. McElveen followed by Mr. Wilson.
Fully supportive. My only question is, and I think as a board we need to discuss this, is why wouldn't something like this go to forum first before going to committee, right? I mean, we have that issue. We've had it certainly on PEC and other committees, so I don't know why this one didn't apply. Thanks.
Well, just to answer that, Mr. McElveen, I don't know how it suddenly found its way. All I know is Ms. Evans and I brought it to staff and said, hey, here's an inquiry. What can you tell us? And then staff said, this is a real easy fix. I think they were already planning on making these other changes. So they added this in to the updates that were already going to be coming our way. But just so you know, I didn't put this on here because as governance chair, I felt like I just could.
Yeah, we did have to make the change to item B, which was just passed. So in making that change, we simply added this as another potential change for the board to discuss, given the concerns that were raised.
Mr. Wilson?
Thank you. I think maybe the reason it wasn't on a forum is that they would have to slip it to the next school year, given our timeline for getting forum topics heard. It's very slow. So, but I actually support this as well. I do have a couple of questions. So you mentioned that only 29 students countywide are taking advantage of this. So when a student or when a family says, hey, we are homeschooling our child, are they notified of this option? Do they get sort of a packet that says, here are some of the options you have as a homeschool family?
Yes, the Office of Home Instruction provides that full packet for each family that applies to pursue home instruction, and that will include the updated information about item B and, if approved in this policy proposal, the information in item C as well. We also have a comprehensive website with all of this information, so there are multiple ways the families can learn about the options.
Okay, and with only 29 participating, is it does the school system invite larger participation, or would that be burdensome? Let's say there was, instead of 29, there were 500 students countywide, or 1,000. What would that mean to the system?
I think it's a great question, and want to echo what Ms. Corbett Sanders mentioned, that we are an inclusive system. However, if we start to look at numbers in the 500s or 20 per school, then we're looking at sections that don't currently exist and looking at additional staffing that would be required. So we certainly want to continue to communicate these options to families who are pursuing home instruction with their students. But I think that what we've seen at the high school level is that the option for 2 core classes seems to be a good fit, and that our students on home instruction, if they want to come into a high school, or in this case into a middle school, it seems like that's the right balance.
Okay, and then lastly, if they come into the school, there's no charge, but then there's a charge for accessing on the online campus.
That's correct. That's for all students would have that same charge.
Yeah, all students currently, if they access the online campus, they pay for it.
Yes.
Beyond their 7 classes, they would pay for it. Correct.
Beyond their 7. So if it's not beyond their 7 classes, they don't pay?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. That's interesting. And that is because they have up to 7 classes? That's the notion?
Yes.
But if it's a homeschool student, they would pay for the first class?
Yes.
Okay. We could talk offline, but I'm sort of trying to think of the logic behind that, because it would seem like a homeschool student isn't taking advantage of any services, so it seems like maybe they should get the first one free, as opposed to a student that's in the school system and wants to take class number 6 or whatever online would have a free. But I guess it's just something I'm sure you guys have thought about, but it does surprising to me. So I actually have, I don't know that it meets the world-class gymnast that Ms. McLaughlin mentioned, but I actually have my own gymnast. And so she is taking an online course this summer because her schedule has so many training hours in the fall that we decided we needed to figure out if she's entering high school, and we wanted to make sure she had enough time to get her work done. I also happen to have a 21-year-old who's returned home and is in school at Nova for the summer. They're both taking classes. One is taking a college-level math class, and the other is taking freshman high school history. And I was a little bit surprised that FCPS was significantly more expensive for the course than Nova was. And it was about a $150 difference for a same kind of 4-week type course. And I think it is a burden on some families that are paying for those extra courses. And I wonder whether we could look at a way to, at least kind of come into line, because if, as a parent, that matters to me. And of course, we would prefer to have our students taking their courses with FCPS as opposed to taking them at Nova. So, thank you.
All right. Are there any other board members who wanted to add anything? Okay. So again, just to reiterate, I believe Dr. Duran, what we've brought before the board at this work session does have the full support of the division. And so board members, I hope we will see a very quick and positive vote on Thursday night for this item, and this portion of the work session is concluded.